This is Steve Montgomery, and this is Unheard of Guitar. I recently put up something that was about the Pandiatonic cycle, and I was referring to arpeggios. This one is the Pandiatonic cycle, and it's a scale. So let me show it to you, and then I'll talk about it briefly. Okay, so I had this up on my blog, and I'll give you a link to that. It's got a lot of other information and some pretty interesting chords that have sound bites that you can, and also fingerings, which is nice for guitar players, so that you can see. I don't put things up in tabs, but I'll put out, like the a picture of the neck of the guitar and say, put this finger here, blah 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 blah, and then you can try out your own fingerings too. So what you just looked at was Pandiatonic cycle, which is a scale. It's got 48 notes. It's composed of continuous whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, half tone patterns. That's probably the most important part. So you may have heard of that before, where people talk about linking together little mini Lydian scales. This has been discovered and rediscovered over time many times. The most recent version of it, I think I heard, was probably Jacob Collier doing amazing things with this very humorous title for it. I've forgotten what it is. Sorry, Jacob Collier, or anybody that's really into him, which you should be into if you haven't been listening to him. He's just absolutely phenomenally amazing. But yeah, he's got some title like the Super Duper, Ooper Duper, whatever it is, Lydian scale. And it's very, very similar. As a matter of fact, I think it's identical to what I've got right here. So I've got this on my blog. So like I said, not that it matters. I came up with this independently back when I was 17, which is like a couple of years ago. So, you can check it out for yourself if you want to. It's all in historical record. It's verifiable. So other than the fact that it's whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, half tone, it's composed of these four note mini scales that all resolve up a fifth. Lo and behold, uh, that's the little mini Lydian scales that are occurring. It is very strong, it's very powerful because you hear that resolution going up, 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 ascending up a fifth, and going through this pandiatonic cycle. Uh, it's composed of overlapping major scales that are spaced a fifth apart, and you can break this down in many many ways. That's just one obvious observation that you could have. Each note occurs four times within the entire cycle. It's not limited to linear. Uh, it's not limited to linear sequential succession. That's one of those just observations, and that means you don't have to start at the beginning and end at the end. Hop in wherever you want, do whatever you think is useful. It encompasses all 12 keys, and it functions as a cycle rather than as an individual scale or scales. So, again, hopping in from here, going to there, you can't get to here from there or to there from here. Wrong. You can do whatever. It's just a cycle. I'll show it to you again. So, just a little side issue, or aside, which is beside the point. Uh, think of or listen to your great composers and your great improvisers, and you'll hear this sort of thing. Tinker with that scale, tinker with the cycle, and you'll hear things. I constantly refer back to Wayne Shorter when he's on to a certain kind of groove that he's into. He does many different kinds of things, but there's certain sounds that he'll do which seem to be referring to that bit that I just showed you. I don't think he studied it or thought of it that way, but I have no idea. I think he just hears it and does it, which is probably what a lot of great people do. although codifying it or trying to write it down is not a problem per se. Hearing it is the ultimate. That's what you got to do. Otherwise, it's of no true value as an improviser. As far as composition goes, I keep on referring back to Alban Berg. I know much has occurred in the world of composition of that sort since he did his thing. But I also think he's kind of the godfather of so much of that style or that way of viewing harmony. And you'll also hear an awful lot of what I just mentioned in his playing. Well, to me, he's a player in the musical sense. So there you have it. Adios.